On today's show, Dean Wade saved the day for the Cavaliers. Here's why it should mean more minutes for him going forward. That and more on today's Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Dean Wade, what a performance, what a moment for him. We're going to talk about him and a lot more on today's Locked On Cavs. I'm Chris Manning. That is Evan Dammerel. No Jake Stevens today. But Cleveland comes back from as many as 22 down to beat arguably the best team in the NBA without Donovan Mitchell, without Max Strus, and that's because of Dean Wade. Evan, this to me is all about the best version of Dean Wade. He only played 21 minutes, and yet he was the most impactful guy on the floor, outscored the Celtics by himself in the fourth quarter of this Cavs comeback win. This, to me, is the case for playing him more than Niang, getting him real minutes in this rotation. This is a version of Dean Wade that the Cavs need, and frankly, I think this can be something that can unlock him and maybe give him a nice confidence boost as you push him forward and see where he can go.
Yeah, Jared Allen kind of said tongue-in-cheek post-game that this is the Dean Wade that the Cavs need him to be every night. And I think it's clearly indicative of just the fact that he's taking and making more three-pointers. And Wade said from his perspective that there was a moment when he hit a three, and then it was either Boston or Cleveland called a timeout. I am going to assume Boston. I can't give you the full play-by-play here in front of me, but Wade said he was walking to the huddle and he said, like, okay, every time DG gets me the ball, I know I'm going to make it. And you clearly saw that. He went 5 of 5 from the perimeter in the fourth quarter. Like you said, outscored Boston entirely, which Wade called, one of the biggest moments of his NBA career. He said it's certainly up there just in terms of his entire basketball career. But yeah, this was a really impressive performance of Wade. And I think going forward, like you had mentioned, more minutes over George Niang. Like Niang was, impactful in the fact that like he told Wade, like, yo, man, every time you get the ball, just rip it. And like I think just like having that veteran in your corner is certainly helpful for Wade. But I think Allen just hit the nail on the head. Like this is the way that the Cavs need, whatever they call in his number, just like if you get the ball on the perimeter and it's a good look, shoot it, do not pass it.
I think this is just one of the only times we've seen Dean Wade play fully without fear. This is one of the only times we've seen Dean Wade, if only for a quarter, play like he didn't care if he made a right decision or if he made the shot or if he missed the shot. He just played basketball. That's how you end up with him having 23 points, having 20 in the fourth, and having an offensive rebound bucket to win this game, and him rebounding and playing good defense and all of that. That comes, I think, from, frankly, a way that you get every so often. You get it in spurts. You certainly didn't get it last year, or when he replaced Kevin Love and Kevin Love leaves, and that was, I think, a real tough look for him. And you haven't even got it consistently this year. I think that's why Niang has played more than him on most nights. But if this is, you're not going to get Dean Wade 6 of 9 from 3, outscoring arguably the best team in the league in a really good offense in a fourth quarter on himself every night. You're not. But can you get a Wade that will just let shots fly when they come to him, that will crash the glass, that will be very confident? To me, if I'm going to be an optimist about this is the kind of thing that can unlock that. And I think he deserves a chance to, maybe it's a 5-game run while Mitchell's out and they just need to find solutions here. But this is the kind of performance that I think should give him the runway to see if he can actually build on this and become the best version of himself.
I mean, as an aside, like Evan Mobley left the game about 5-ish minutes or so to go in the third quarter. JV, and we'll talk about this more, but like Bickerstaff confirmed with me that he tweaked his ankle coming down from a dunk. But again, we'll talk about this more, but like Hayden Grove of Cleveland.com said that Mobley exited the arena on crutches and his ankle looked like a golf ball. So not encouraging. But this is a good flashpoint for Wade, at least. And also maybe an opportunity just to kind of keep building upon this with this second game of a back-to-back against Atlanta looming. And then they have the Timberwolves on Friday, of course, but Wade can keep building positive momentum because there's going to be more minutes available for him, whether there's no Donovan Mitchell, there's no Evan Mobley, possibly no Max Strus for a bit too. Just like a lot of pieces that could really be out for the Cavs, and they turned to Wade and like, okay, Dean, you showed it to us before. We're going to keep feeding it to you and keep getting the ball and keep building this rhythm and momentum. And this could be very impactful come playoff time for the Cavs, just because you need guys that can just give you that spacing. And I think a steady ship is just good for everyone, especially on rough seas in the playoffs, if you're the Cavs. And if you're getting a strong foundation from your role players and they're, playing off of what the stars are giving you and like what the Cavs are receiving from their stars on the court. But it just makes life easier for everybody if your stars or role players rather are confident. And Wade is another one of those guys who his confidence was kind of lacking at times, especially last season when he was dealing with the injury and just the wake of coming off of that.
Would you start him? Would he be the one you would go to? Well, let's say Mobley, his ankle's the size of a golf ball. You don't know what he's going to look like, all of that stuff. Would you put him in as the 4 next to Allen as you're moving forward here in the short term?
Yes, and I'm not really going to extrapolate much more on that, but yeah, I think it's the defense, of course.
Extrapolate on it. That's the point.
The rebounding's there. I think he's more of a bigger forward, but he does have that flip ability to play the 3 or the 4, or maybe even small ball 5, just because, no Mobley, Thompson, Damian Jones didn't get a second of run against the Celtics despite being available. You might be looking at some very, very small lineups with Wade playing the 5 at times, and it's just a natural fit. And I think there's just more of that on-court feel and chemistry where the Cavs maybe lean on some of the stuff that worked for them more last year without the new faces, and it's a little bit easier for them just to have a starting 5 of Garland, I guess Sam Merrill in this sense, Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, and Jared Allen heading into Atlanta, maybe against Minnesota as well. But yeah, you just kind of reward Wade's solid play. You kind of find ways to kind of stretch and space out the floor a lot more, because it just makes Allen's life a heck of a lot easier when there's a stretchier big next to him in the front court. And you just keep rocking and rolling with that. I would assume you feel the same way, but I'll still shoot or pass the ball to you and ask, do you think it should be Wade starting at the 4, assuming Mobley can't play against Atlanta or Minnesota?
Has to be Wade. I think you're talking about a defender, a shooter, the rebounding. I don't know how great of a rebounder he is, but I think it's just the most functional one. It's the one they've gone to before. I think it's the most ready-made one. I think they like also keeping Niang and LeVert in their roles, and I think that makes sense. I just think Wade's going to give you the most things you need if you're replacing Mobley and replacing the other stuff you're going to be missing if, let's say, Strus is out. If you're rolling in and it's Garland, this game was... The starting 5 in this game was Darius Garland. Look, but it's like I think we're going to get some odd
situation too.
Yeah. It's Garland, Sam Merrill, who, by the way, just a side note, not really the point of the show, but the fact that he, the first quarter, they just ran 0 plays for him is just weird for me to just get him a 3. I think that's easy offense. Garland, Okoro, Merrill, Mobley, and Allen. I think if Mobley's out, and I think we should assume he will be, it could be Garland, Merrill, Okoro, Wade, Allen, I think, for the short term, and I think you roll with that. And I just think it has to be Wade. I think Wade, he earned it based on this game more than anything else. And I think he's the most functional two-way role guy they have that can slot in and put on different hats based on what they need in a given moment. I think it just has to be him.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think the trust factor is big too. Bickerstaff probably trusts Wade a little bit more just because he has more time and experience with him, and also just knows defensively Wade is comfortable stepping up in certain matchups, at least against Atlanta, or even looking ahead to Friday's game against Minnesota. Dean Wade I'm not saying like is going to lock down one of Karl Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert, but like makes it a lot more easier for the Cavs to set the table defensively if you have those two out there versus like a different lineup or situation. Maybe you go super small, or maybe you start George Niang in that place. But like in that lineup, like, or that matchup specifically, when you look at Minnesota, a team that does play two bigs like Cleveland likes to do, starting Wade just makes a lot more sense from the defensive side of things. But offensively, you just want to keep this momentum going. You don't want to like obviously force feed him, but he's very good in the pick and roll, the pick and pop. He is, being really energetic, crashing the glass. I think the one dunk he had to seal the game was certainly like, outside of the threes, he's one of the exclamation points of the third quarter he had, but he was awesome in this game. And you got to reward good play by, obviously the situation forces you to probably start him, but reward him by giving him more minutes and more run just to kind of keep building rhythm and momentum, with the playoffs looming, of course.
All right. After this, we have some Donovan Mitchell news, what it means for him and why I think it puts pressure on Darius Garland to do even more, depending on how long Mitchell's actually going to be out. That's up next on Locked On Cavs. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. eBay Motors is a great tool for you to use if you have your favorite ride or die out there, and that's me with my Ford Bronco. But passion, drive, and patience, what brings home the winning trophy, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Plus, with eBay Motors, you're buying rubber, not cash. You're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, we're back here on Locked On Cavs. I want to tell you too about Locked On launching the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national 24/7 sports streaming channel. So Donovan Mitchell has been out. We talked about the injection he got into his knee. He will miss at least 3 games. And JB Bickerstaff, before Cleveland plays Boston, says, quote, "I expect him to be back before a month. I don't like to overstep my bounds, but at the end of these 3 games, they'll reevaluate and then we'll make a decision from there. I am hopeful and do not expect this to be a long break, but we will always do its best by our guys to make sure they're healthy." That last statement is just a very thing they say all the time, and you can take it for what it's worth. He also called it a wear and tear thing. And Evan, I think the way you can look at this, to me, is that there's now a gray area with Mitchell. I think we looked at the 3 games, and there's probably more gray area than I think at least I acknowledged on our show the other day. But I think now when you say, okay, we will reevaluate after 3 games, and we don't expect it to be long, but it could be it could be anywhere from 3 games to close to a month, which would take you into April, aka right before the playoffs. There's just a lot of gray area now around Mitchell's status and what he's going to look like going forward here.
Yeah, makes you wonder, was it wise in retrospect to play him 44 minutes in double overtime against the Bulls? But we're here, and not in the past.
Can I ask you one thing about that, actually? Because I at the time, he was coming off the sickness, and at the time, I attributed him not looking great to just lingering effects of sickness.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you just got to play through it, but clearly there's something more.
And I think, he was shut down after that Chicago game. So maybe that just kind of really just aggravated it to the point where, like, yeah, especially like in the double OT, like he was missing some of the lift in his shot. Like it looked like he was missing just a little bit of that burst that he has normally. And I think, that's credit where credit's due, he played through probably a very painful injury, because if JV Bickerstaff compares it to something similar of tendonitis, like that just means you're in constant sore, dull, flaring up, heating up pain in your knee at all times. And like, that's just frustrating and agonizing. And so we shall see. But like you said, if it is hopefully a month, knees are tricky just because that's just, like one of the most important regions in your body, because it just holds your entire mass up. It is encouraging. At least it's been 24-ish hours since the Cavs news broke or they dropped sent out the release that he got the PRP shots in his knee. But he was able to walk on two legs, clearly, like he was courtside for the game. He joined the broadcast on TNT. Like he was present and he was able to move around. Usually when you get PRP shots, it's like that 24 to 48 hour window where you really can't put much pressure on that leg. And clearly he was putting a lot of weight bearing pressure on that leg. But we'll see how the evaluation goes after that 3-game window after they wrap up against Minnesota or Timberwolves over the weekend. And it'll probably give us a clear idea maybe where he's at, especially if the swelling has gone down. I think that's the biggest thing with the PRP shots is it's going to reduce the swelling in his knee to like evaluate like structurally, could he cause any more serious damage to this if he were to play on it at some point, or like, just how long can they afford to shut him down so that he can play as healthily as possible, not compromise any recurring injuries or future injuries. But in the grand scheme of things, like, yeah, it's tough because this is when the Cavs schedule gets a little tighter. The Eastern Conference is super tight where they're standing, and sure, they won against Boston without him and so many others, but like, it's a game by game approach. But getting him back mid-April wouldn't be the end of the world, just because when it comes to Donovan Mitchell, at least, like his offensive motor runs so hot, and there's been stretches where he's missed quite a bit of time for the Cavs. So like maybe the shot isn't consistently falling right away, or maybe he's not hyper efficient, but like he can get it going pretty easily compared to the other guys on this roster. Like I'm not too concerned about him missing time, because I feel like it takes a little bit for him to kind of get his legs back, but then he'll just get rolling again.
Yeah, I think the concern for me is it's not about him. It's about like where the team ends up while he's gone. Do they slide out of
That's fair.
3 into like 4? And what does that mean for who they could get in the playoffs? And also just like, what does this mean for Darius Garland? I think we were talking before the show that I think we had differing opinions on this performance. The box score for Garland for this game against the Celtics is like, it's not awful. It's 16 points. It's 11 assists. It's 3 turnovers. The 11 assists to 3 turnovers thing is the best part of this. He definitely had some nice shot making moments in this game. But I want to be still sympathetic to him, Evan, because of the time he missed and how weird of a year this has been for him. He's never been in a rhythm this whole time, but he is struggling every single time he gets inside the paint. Teams at some point are just going to say, drive, my guy. We don't think you're going to score. And that's a real problem. And even some of the decision making late in this game, he is when the game really dragged down and he had to make big plays and make decisions, it just was a little tight. And like Dean Wade, frankly, just kind of like bailed him out a little bit. And that's going to happen. That's the point of a team sport. But where Garland is at right now gives me just some pause that they can really just kind of maintain where they need to be. If Mitchell misses more than these 3 games and he's out 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it's closer to April than it's more close to the end of March than it is, say, the middle of March.
So to your point about Garland, and I know we have to cut for ads soon, so maybe we can pick this back up in the next segment too before we look ahead and just talk about Evan Mobley too. And a fun segment you had planned, but I wonder if he's still, a little bit adverse or struggling to handle physicality or contact, because you and I noted that has to be it, because like you and I noted at the beginning of the season, like he looked a lot bigger. He looked like just muscular more so. And like that to me was an indication of, okay, he's going to attack the basket and he's going to try and draw contact and get to the free throw line. So either he's adverse at drawing contact, either the refs aren't calling fouls, which I don't think that's the case if it's on such a consistent basis lately. Unless like there's some grand conspiracy you and I aren't aware of, or it's just he's adverse to Freemasons. It's the
Freemason. It's Freemasons. If you lost the weight he did and couldn't eat, and then also like couldn't do basketball stuff, even if you just said that, it's just like
you broke your jaw. Like, you don't want to reactivate that at any point. Like, when you draw contact, you might get hit in the face. Like, you don't want to re-experience that because it's incredibly painful.
Yeah, and I think if let's just say Mobley's out a little bit here, and he has like, let's say like a high ankle sprain or something. Garland's confidence becomes the number one most important thing for the Cavs to figure out over the next several weeks. I just don't think he's playing like he's fully sure of himself right now, and that to me is like the alarming part of this.
Yeah, the confidence thing for me wasn't as apparent just because he took 20 attempts with 8 3-pointers tonight. It could have been more.
But I think he has to. I think that's like he just kind of had to.
He has to kind of keep ripping it. But for me, we talked about this a bit on the like breaking in the wake of the Mitchell injury announcement. That a bit of a silver lining is there's more shot opportunities, and you are putting expectations to have Darius Garland carry. And to me, I'm just like, okay, he's at least taking the shots. They're not falling. I wonder if, again, we talked about the adversity to contact, but he is taking a lot more threes. And I think maybe that's product of the offense the Cavs is running. And I also wonder, like, if he's being realistic, like, okay, I'm not getting any looks inside. And even though he's still going to try and press it at times, just because that's what he sometimes tends to do, but he is ripping more 3-pointers. And if that's kind of more of what you want, if you're the Cavs, ideally, and you kind of just get that, maybe he has a bit more of a rhythm once Mitchell comes back. And like we talked about, like, Mitchell won't have a hard time like integrating himself or maybe playing off ball or whatever more to Garland. But I think this is an opportunity for Garland to build momentum. And at least in my eyes against the Wolves, like, he wasn't Dean Wade. He wasn't Jared Allen, who was, we're going to mention, like, was phenomenal after, especially
he was great.
Mobley went down. And but like Garland, to me, I'm like, it wasn't perfect. Like, the lackluster box score is there. I think the on-court eye test stuff, like, it was lackluster at times, but there was enough like moments for me where I'm like, okay, there's a little bit of juice on this one, and I feel like there's something maybe a little bit cooking more. And it's more so than like the little brief like flashes in the pan we've seen post All-Star break, or even when he's come back from his injury, that kind of give me reason for optimism.
Yeah, there's like a tease that he's figuring some things out, and then there's other things where you're like, are we sure? Are you sure about that? There's That's actually fair. A guy, but I went to this game with two buddies, and just so frankly, I have a Kelsey Brothers bobblehead, which is a dub for me. Swifties, I'll take $1,000.
Okay, speaking of, friend of the program, Jackson Flickinger, approached me on the concourse because he was at the game tonight with his wife. And he said, how much for a Travis Kelce bobblehead? I said, how much do you want? He said, $85. And I'm like, dude, he's been trying so much more on eBay.
Yeah, he's underselling. Yeah, but I'll take $1,000. You can hit me for my Venmo. But there's a guy behind me being like, every time Darius did something weird, he was doing the Tim Robinson voice. It's like, are you sure about that? From I think you should leave. Which was just A plus banter from this random man in the concourse wearing a Cavs hockey jersey. All right, after this, Evan Mobley's injury, who steps up with him out? And we've got a little game involving Travis Kelce's old Cavs tweets. That's up next. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes we really need the opportunity to get something off our chest. Big or small, certain things in your life can really start to get to you. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. So today, I want to say how I really feel about something. You might have been thinking about the same thing. And for me, it's Georges Niang. I think that is probably the person universally who frustrates Cavs fans the most right now. If you just look at Reddit or look at Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it these days. To his credit, he did some good things against the Celtics, but that the video, the thing of him the other day saying that if he doesn't start making shots, he's going to need to start delivering for Amazon, I think hit a little too close to home for some people. Anyway, therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedInNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. So Evan Mobley being out, Evan, I think they have to play small, and I think it's room for Merrill kind of paradox. They're not going to play Damian Jones.
They're not going to start games small, but Dean Wade is like a 4.
Yeah, but
So,
he's
like,
but they're going to be stretched. Like the way they're going to play is going to be no two big lineups. It's going to be Allen at the 5. Lord knows if they're going to play a backup center. That's like an open question here. I kind of wonder if like they're like it's Georgia Day, like who's the backup center now is like a concern. They don't want to play Damian Jones.
Do we finally see Isaiah Mobley?
If there's ever
the G League?
Look, if they don't do it now, I don't want to. It's done. If they don't do it now, there's not a reason you can sell to me that they just don't think he's like worth their time. Like that, like it's kind of now or never to some degree. Like you have him on the 2-way, you haven't used him at all. It's kind of time if you're gonna ever do it.
Yeah, that I agree. But proceed with this with this banter we're about to say.
Yeah, I think it's just gonna be no Mobley. Okay, so it's gonna be let's play smaller. Let's stretch everything out. I think that means Merrill gets regular minutes. I think that means one of him and when Strus is back, I think one of them will always be on the floor together or on the floor just to give themselves a shooter. A lot of minutes for Niang and Wade, a lot of minutes for Okoro, and Allen's probably going to play like 40 minutes a night. And then you just like got to find 8 minutes of someone to play the 5. That's kind of where. What is this face you're making?
I just saw the renderings for the A's new stadium, and that's horrific. But go ahead.
That's it. No. What do you? I think that's the way here. It's just going to be smaller, and then again, I think there's just more pressure on Darius Garland for offensive infrastructure.
Smaller, it's going to be a big eyesore like the Orb. But yeah, I agree. It's going to be playing smaller. Obviously, starting the game more traditionally with Dean Wade at the 4, Jared Allen at the 5. I touched on this a little bit, but I think you're going to see a lot of like Dean Wade playing the 5 in some of these situations in lineups, depending on the severity or how long Mobley's out. Maybe Tristan Thompson gets some burn once he's back from his suspension. He's allowed to return to the court when they play the Pelicans next Wednesday on the road because the Max tournament's taking over Cleveland that week, baby. But
that's right. The Bobcats 5 in a row. Not that jersey. That jersey. 5 in a row.
Throw up a Z, baby. But anyways, either way, so maybe you see some Tristan Thompson floor burn. Maybe Damian Jones gets like 4 to 5 to 6 minutes a game just to give Allen some time to catch his breath, or like, if Wade is getting kind of pummeled on the interior, but like their upcoming opponents. So Atlanta's a weird one. I don't know how to really fully gauge how that matchup would go. Like they're not like super overwhelmingly big. Like Minnesota, okay, that gives me a little bit more pause. But then you have Brooklyn. The Wolves might be a Damian Jones game just because there's lots. Yeah,
of
you have to. Yeah,
or you just say F it. Dean Wade's playing stretch 5. Like that's kind of like your two options there. And maybe I don't know if JB's
have
that
found success in the past where they would throw Kevin Love at the 5 and throw him on Rudy Gobert and just make Rudy Gobert's life very frustrating by pulling Gobert out of the paint. But obviously, there's some similarities, but not full blown similarities between Wade and Love and how they play. But then after that, it's Brooklyn, then Phoenix, and then New Orleans. And by that point, when you play New Orleans, you'd have Thompson back, so you can maybe have a little bit of a bigger body. But like Brooklyn, you have Nick Claxton to deal with. You have like the Nets aren't a good team either, so it's kind of really hard to get a full gauge of what threat they might pose to the Cavs. And then like Phoenix, that's just going to be like Yusuf Nurkic could eat them alive on the glass if Allen isn't able to contain him, or when Allen isn't on the floor. Kevin Durant kind of isn't a 5, but he plays the 4, technically speaking, for the Nets, but like can do a lot of stuff to just make life uncomfortable on the front line for the Cavs. And then like after that, like you get to the Pelicans, maybe you're able to ride out the storm. Hopefully, knock on wood, Evan Mobley's ankle injury isn't that bad, and you're able to just kind of cobble something together. And like you said, there might just be certain matchups where you break the Damian Jones glass, throw him out there to be a body to rack up fouls, or maybe get a little rough with the opposing big men. All
right, let's end at a game. A little fun here. So this was Kelsey Brothers night. They absolutely deleted respective Bud Light. It was incredible stuff. Travis Kelce remains the only person in the history of the universe that has when his old tweets get dug up, they are not bad. He's literally the only person.
It's like he is discovered fire.
It's incredible stuff. So he had, I believe the kind of Bex Walker pulled up 4 of his tweets, and Evan, we're gonna look at them and we're gonna decide what's the best Cav sicko take.
Also, audio listeners, sucks to suck. You should be watching this on YouTube. Proceed, Chris.
That's true. So we're gonna read the tweets, but YouTube, get us to 4. We're almost at 4,000 subs. Get us there. All right, number 1. Hashtag Cavs, hashtag Cavs, hashtag Cavs, hashtag Cavs. I see you, Manny Harris, with 2 exclamation points. This was in February of 2011. So that's number 1.
Wait. Go ahead. I want to see when Manny Harris froze his foot to see how far apart the time was.
Yeah, I want to see I have to look at the box score for that game. Number 2. This is from May 20th, 2014. Jabari or Wiggins to the Cavs with 4 exclamation points. Please, with 3 exclamation points. Don't go someone off the charts this time with 3 dots. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3. From July 11th, 2014. This to me is the clubhouse leader. Cavs fans might think I'm kidding or crazy. ... But don't give up hope on Anthony Bennett. This is a Anthony Bennett Summer League tweet from Travis Kelce.
That's a deep cut. And what year is that again?
2014. This is before the trade. This is like probably around that's around the decision time. There's just like a lot going on there, but that's just a real sicko stuff. Number 4.
He was playing for the Chiefs by then. He was like getting ready for training camp with the Kansas City Chiefs and was pondering Anthony Bennett during Summer League.
Yeah. Number 4 from June of 2011. I want the Cavs, hashtag Cavs, to pick Derek Williams at 1 and Kemba Walker at 4.
Garbage
3 exclamation
take.
points. Hashtag just saying. Where were you? And were you on the Derek Williams over Kyrie camp back then? What was your take? I was a Kyrie guy.
I was a Kyrie guy, but I also didn't really know anything about like kids in college. I was just like, okay, we'll see how this goes. I was really confused by the Tristan Thompson pick. I'm like, who the heck's Tristan Thompson? I'm glad I was wrong on both of those pickups because they were monumental to Cleveland's title success. But roll back.
The winner.
When was the winner's Harris tweet?
It was, pull it up again here. It was February of 2011.
2011?
Yeah.
What day?
February 23rd at 8:03 p.m. from Earth. I love that it says from Earth on this screenshot. It's pretty great.
So that's weird because he was with the Charge by then because the Cavs waived him after he burned his foot, leaving Michael Thompson, brother of Klay Thompson, on the roster.
I'm going to see if there's a box score. If I can find that.
And maybe he was hanging out in Canton that night. But yeah, the Anthony Bennett takes a good one. Also, saying Andrew Wiggins or Jabari Parker, because before Jabari Parker's knees turned into jelly, he was a certified bucket coming out of Duke, but also Wiggins.
Okay, so wait, I can explain I can explain the Manny Harris thing right now. They played the Rockets that night, February 23rd, 2011. He had Manny Harris came off the bench, played 26 minutes, was 9 of 16 from the field. 3 of 4 from 3, 9 boards, 5 assists, only 1 turnover, 21 points.
Yes, Manny Harris. Yes,
Cavs lost by 5.
Not surprised. Byron Scott just probably sat there with his arms folded, scowling the whole time.
There's some real dudes like in this box score. Chuck Hayes, Kevin Martin, Shane Battier, Kyle Lowry, and Luis Scola are the starting 5 for the Rockets. Chase Budinger and Aaron Brooks and Patrick Patterson. That's 2-pack coming off the bench.
That's almost when the Cavs tried to sign Kyle Lowry away from the Rockets.
Yep. And then this Cavs starting 5 in this game: Anthony Parker, Antoine Jameson, Ramon Sessions, JJ Hickson, Christian Iyenga, Jamario Moon, Manny Harris, Samardo Samuels, and Ryan Hollins coming off the bench. Alonzo G, Leon Poe, and Joey Graham get DNPs. The answer is the Anthony Bennett tweet to me.
Yeah, that's the answer.
I mean,
Summer League Anthony Bennett was fun, and that's when I thought, like, there might be something here.
But after his rookie year, being like, I don't know, guys, Anthony Bennett is just like that's a swerve. And to be caring about Anthony Bennett in Summer League and talk yourself into it is just like what the real sickos are doing. That's some sicko stuff.
That was also like moment. Well, no, that was 2015.
No, this is the decision summer.
Yes, that's what no, wait. Anthony
Bennett? 2014. He was still, because he gets traded to the Wolves as part of the Kevin Love trade, but that didn't happen until August.
I understand that, but that's what I was trying to think. I'm like, yeah, Anthony Bennett balling out in Summer League did predicate Kevin Love going to the Timberwolves. Yeah, August 23rd, 2014, Bennett was traded to the Timberwolves in a 3-team trade with the Cavaliers and 76ers, which ultimately got the Cavs Kevin Love. So maybe Travis Kelce's a savant. I did joke with Chris, how many Bud Lights did he rip in 3 seconds before
not enough.
posting some of these tweets? Yeah, not enough, evidently, but
never enough.
Travis Kelce's old tweets are funny. Thankfully, none of them have been problematic that people have unearthed them, because I think that would really just hurt the Swifty, aura around him. But two, just like Travis Kelce's fun. Like, he is the greatest tight end of all time, and I'm a Broncos fan, so I think he's better than Shannon Sharp, who redefined the position for me. But in my eyes,
we gotta get out of here.
It was fun. It was a fun game. I think it was fun that they got to hype up the crowd so much. Like, it was cool. They should bring them courtside for every single playoff game, and then they should just be the unofficial, like Steph Curry hitting the keep pounding drum for the Panthers. Travis Kelce or Jason Kelce should just be the hype men for the Cavs. And one quick aside, it was funny that JB Bickerstaff did a double take and smiled and like ran over to fist bump Jason Kelce because he's a huge Eagles fan. And I'm just like, that's funny. And also Dean Wade having a career night in front of a Chiefs player, his favorite team, and probably one of his favorite players from his favorite team is also.
Yeah. We can all go to bed the night knowing deep down in our souls that Travis Kelce sent a text to Taylor Swift that Dean Wade absolutely saved the Cavs, and that's the thing that I'm just thinking about the bizarre world we live in this time. It's wild stuff. All right, we're gonna end there. I'm Chris Manning. That's Evan Demerol. We'll be back after Cavs Hawks Wednesday. Quick turnaround for Cleveland as they head to Atlanta to play the Trae Youngless Atlanta Hawks. We'll talk to you after that. Have a good one.